That's so we're going over the chosen. We're going over the chosen. So episode 2 and 3. So what we talked about last week was episode 1, and it kind of centered on Mary Magdalene. And Mary Magdalene was definitely, that story is the emotional resonance of that episode. And I'm going to start with the end of that episode because I thought it was really good. Like it just had all this emotion attached to it. And Mary, she was being known as Lilith, and she had all of the demons in her and all of those things. And then Jesus calls her by her real name. Jesus calls her by her real name. And so we'll watch this clip first.
Mary of Magdala.
I sempre not
Try again. I call my name. You keep my life.
I know it's so much like that like what a way to end that first episode. Like it's so good. It's so beautiful because it's so like Jesus oriented, redemption surrounded, and like that's and my encouragement as we go through this is that we look at how can we create our own messages of Jesus' beauty, using what we know from the scriptures, using the stories that we know, and being able to, because you could quote a Bible verse to someone, who cares? Like that's you just Bible verse somebody. But if you can weave a story, about what Jesus means to them, I think that's what makes The Chosen so beautiful over there. And we're going to talk about some of the warts in it, some of the things we don't like, because there's going to be things we don't like. There's things that we may disagree with, but it's all looking through these things. It's like, how can we do something similar, both for ourselves and the people that are around us? So season 2, it's all about Shabbat, or the Sabbath, like all that. So what do you think about season 2, episode 2? What do you think about episode 2? Not everyone at once.
I thought it was interesting to see the differences.
Yeah,
All very, very different,
they were.
and all very, very sovereign at the same time.
Yes. The I don't have a video clip of this, but near the end of the episode, Nicodemus's wife, he's starting to notice that there's stuff up that he doesn't agree with his own practice. That he's over there, and his wife kind of keeps bringing him back in. She's sitting and he's looking at that tapestry, and I guess I couldn't get it, but I guess that tapestry was made during the time of the Maccabees or right before that. And she goes, what should they, because they were in captivity or whatever she said about that, should they not have, should the makers have not made it as beautiful? And that was such a, you know, even if we're not doing it perfectly, should we, or if we're sinful, should we not try to make it beautiful?
I think I think you see the contrast where, yeah, like you mentioned, that Nicodemus is starting to look outward, inward spiritually, and she's looking outward to the world. She's more, she likes the tapestry of the,
She's definitely more worldly, but it was an interesting perspective she brought.
here. I think what she said was, should the artist not have made it beautiful? The artist not have made it beautiful.
Yeah.
That'd be a similar saying, should have Michelangelo not have done the Sistine Chapel as beautiful as knowing that it was paid through indulgences from poor people?
Yeah. Exactly. So what else? What do you think about those 4 tables? Like, as Vance brought up the 4 tables, what did you think of them?
I would think that I noticed that a small thing and not important to probably most people is just that you talk about the humanity of Jesus, that he's not a robot, he's not a machine, he's a human being. He has got humor and things like that. And when he was at the table, and the one guy made a joke like, "Oh, one good thing finally came out of Nazareth."
So the goodie
Out of that, everyone else is like looking at him like, "I can't believe he just said that." And Jesus looked at him and winked.
didn't wink so.
So yeah, I thought that was.
I think I have that in here a little bit. I think I have in we. I'm not sure. It's in the overall thing. But that is a good thing, Barnaby. Like, that was. But I love that scene too, because it where around Mary's Sabbath table, because that whole, like, it, and we may end up showing this quickly here, but it's Mary's Sabbath table. Like, the whole episode, she doesn't know what she's doing because she's always been excluded. And what I really enjoy about her timeline is the timeline of the woman that has been bleeding for 12 years is how I've always told that story is how they're telling the Mary Magdalene. You know, where it's this person who, for whatever reason, was not able to be close to God. And, you know, Mary Magdalene was because she was called Lilith, and she was filled with demons and things like that. And the woman that was bleeding for 12 years, and she was on her, my Old Testament professor used to call it her menses and stuff like that, which we always thought was fun. Like that. But that she was on there, which meant she was ceremonially unclean. You know, like that's, and so, you know, what after she touched Jesus' hip, you know, what would her life have been now that she's clean? And I think, like, yeah, last summer I was on a sabbatical for 7 weeks. And when I came back, I didn't know how to do any of this. Like, I still do, but like that first sermon was rough. I don't remember how to do. Like, I don't remember how to talk publicly anymore. Like that's, you know, and it was, you get out of practice on it, you know? And so, like, she hadn't done it in so long. And it's just beautiful. Actually, I do have a scene of that. So this scene is the Pharisee coming in and noticing Mary if she's clean. But the couple of things that I want you to notice is that how everyone treats the Pharisee. And she's out of practice, that she isn't treating him that way. You know, like she's not treating him that way. Everyone's trying to be, all of a sudden the principal showed up. You know, it's doing that. But he notices her, and that I just thought it was an interesting scene.
I noticed that the Zoom doesn't come across Zoom.
It doesn't, Jeff, sorry.
That's fine. You're fine. I remember it.
Sorry.
I love that scene because she doesn't even notice it. You know, like that's she doesn't have any of the memory to notice any of that, and she's not noticing it at all. So that's good. So what else about the Shabbat? So the last one we talked about was Curtis with Jesus winking Barbie.
I liked who was there. I mean, you had future apostles, I think, were in that at that table.
Yeah, you had Thaddeus and James. Thaddeus and James. Now, like, yeah. Are they the sons of thunder? Is that the sons of thunder? So what's fun about them being there? And this is where you see some artistic license coming with this, because they call Jesus teacher when he walks in, but Peter hasn't been called. You know, like so like. Does anyone have any issues with that? What do you think? Because that's where we're getting into something where we're out of sync. Yeah, out of the sequence. Like, is anyone have any thoughts about that? Like that? What do you think?
We talked about it last week where Mira Magdalene was first all season. I mean, it's just
Yeah.
like drawing out the story from different points.
Yeah. The story is very much. It seems like the story is very much about Jesus, not about the purity of how the gospel is presented. Like, and that's which is interesting.
I think that there's a danger, obviously,
Yeah.
if you try to draw a lot of different stuff from the season as the chosen.
Yeah.
Like last week, someone was like, "Oh, that was interesting that Mary Magdalene was called first." And stuff. Yes, artistically, it's interesting.
Yeah.
But there is something to be said about people, the way that they're called, the way that they're layered and maneuvered in the New Testament, which does the church has drawn meaning. Peter being first in all of the list, and Judas always being last. Those things have significance.
Yeah.
But in the artistic representation, not as
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, just because they were at the table and called him teacher doesn't mean he actually called them yet.
And that's true too. But what I liked about that whole gathering was when Jesus calls Matthew and he eats with tax collectors and sinners. It was a beautiful image of this room of outcasts. You know, just a bunch of misfits. You know, like that's a bunch of misfits. That's this church's identity. If you guys heard that, yeah, we're all just a bunch of misfits. And so that's which is kind of cool. What's another part of this that really?
I think it was interesting also.
Yeah. Matthew was fascinating. Like he stands up to the Romans. You know, like that's like he just like Quintus. He's just like, you made a bad deal. You know, like that's everyone else is having to change their shorts after with all these things, and he kind of stands up to him. It's crazy because they showed that he's afraid of his fellow people, but not afraid of them. Yeah.
He thought if he doesn't want anybody seeing him walk through any of that, the guy that carried him through in the first episode,
Yeah.
want to be seen with him, like, dude, he's scared of them. It seems like, oh, he's not scared of them.
But or has he treated his own people the way he's treating the Romans now? That he's kind of, you know, he's like, well, actually, you know, like that's you shouldn't be doing any of this.
Yeah, and there's a lot of Syria.
Yeah.
Train Larry's supper was, she was setting it up for Passover,
Yeah.
and she is realizing, and then Jesus come in and took.
Yeah. That is very beautiful imagery when she realizes that like, oh, that's just Sabbath that we have for Elijah, and then Jesus walks in, basically. Like that's fun imagery right there. that's fun. Like that over there.
I thought it was interesting that she had the words. I think her father had given her the words.
Yeah.
And the fact that she was also taught how to read them, because back then the women didn't learn to read or weren't
Yeah.
taught to read.
So like that. So yeah, she had those words. She knew how to read. That theme extends into episode 3 too, with the little girl, and it's like I know you know how to read, and so that's also just a really fun theme where you're seeing here, and there is with Mary Magdalene and these other ladies. Remember the other ladies in Mary Magdalene are talked about a lot in the Gospels. There's not a lot of singular stories about them, but they're definitely some main characters, and they're supporting the ministry of Jesus, financially, and that's they're kind of underlying and supporting it. So yeah, first witnesses too, and these people would have been understood to have, if they were wealthy, they probably could read and things like that. It doesn't make a big deal out of those, but when you kind of read between the lines, you're like, oh yeah. And so I think it's kind of revealing some of that, because like, what is it, Barnaby? Like it wants to read it. He's like, I can read it for you. And then there's like a joke made about Barnaby or something like that. Like that. That's which is kind of fun. So Matthew, let's get back to Matthew for a second, because I think his relationship with his family is really interesting. Well, I have a video clip for this one. We'll watch it and we'll see what's going on. So this is him as a tax clip.
Matthew, another unhappy citizen expressing his disapproval? Happy fellow. Disgusting. Go home. I had a job to do. My father never allowed me to share some of the race right. You must have Roman blood. Don't skip. Choose a rod. Nicola, how can you not have a relationship with your father? He says they are concerned.
Yes. And back to work. So how would you, from what a little bit that we got from Matthew, how would you think about his relationship to his family?
I think his family basically excommunicated him.
Yeah. So like what else is going on, do you think? What else?
Oh, the question is whether they separated from it because he was a tax collector, come on, because he was pushed away from the Jewish family.
Yeah.
Well, the movie that showed us.
It doesn't tell us, but you can kind of tell from that scene that his father was probably pretty strict, and he has embodied that. And remember, like by us knowing that he's kind of Levi, which he's probably from the tribe of Levi, and he was supposed to be a priestly class. He would have known all this stuff, so he was probably. And they kind of present him as being on the spectrum a little bit. And so they, so he would have been kind of about the rules and all of those things.
Explain his lack of fear of the Romans.
Yeah. Like that kind of obstinate thing. But like, I thought it was interesting. He's like, well, I'm just going to get my job done. Like, I got a job to do. I'm not going to not do it. And
Yeah,
so
I don't think Matthew looked at being a tax collector as being like a sinful person. He just looked at it as a job. He had talent to do certain things in this, and and presented it as a thing that fits his niche.
Yeah. No, it does. Now, I don't think I have this clip. I think I have part of it, but when Mary is having her Sabbath dinner, and we see what Matthew does. there's two things in it that I thought was really interesting. Like his only friend is the dog. Yeah, and I think they kind of intentionally got kind of a scary looking dog. Like it's it's not like some basset, or like that's
Weird dog.
yeah, wiener dog or something like that. It's kind of a big dog and do what?
It's smart.
Yeah, it's smart.
It's doing exactly where it's supposed to.
Yeah, it stood right there. Yeah, and so and he goes, if there's any left, I'll bring you some back. What's left, and he's going to his family's house. Like he's bringing the dinner back to his family's house, and he looks in the window at his family, and that's, I can't remember when I thought about it, but I think it was a couple years into being a pastor, and I realized that there were people out in the congregation that things like Mother's Day and Father's Day were not the best days, for whatever reason. And so, like, this Father's Day is just Sunday, isn't it? Like that's so we'll say something very similar to it, that it's that something to the order of, like, we're with you even if this is the easy stuff, and because I think there's a lot of circumstances in people like Matthew where they long for home and they can't get to it or whatever it is. Like that's, and so he goes back and has the entire meal with the big scary black dog in the alley. What else? What else is up to? Listen. What about Nicodemus stuff? He's in this episode a lot.
He realizes that he thinks for a moment, he kind of gets this peacock, like, oh, like, I did this.
Oh yeah,
I want to go see her.
yeah.
And then once he goes there and realizes it wasn't him, that's when he like hit him in the face. Like, there's something out there.
Yeah.
And that's why at the dinner, he's looking at everything going, oh, like we just do these, but we're just going through the motions. This is all just for show. It's nothing just glorifying God.
Like that's, yeah. It was, we'll watch the scene. So he goes to see Mary now healed. And that whole scene is kind of fascinating.
It's you. It's real. There. And please, don't be frightened. My name is Nicodemus. I've ministered to you.
Grazie to the name. Amen. As one.
But you were caught, yes?
Yes,
Yes, very. I'm desperate for your love. I'm a Pharisee of this different Jerusalem. I'm a man of God. I believe you have experienced the miracle here.
Really fancy.
Yes. I'm sorry, others. I'm not here to enforce Jewish law.
Salve my head.
You don't remind me at all. I burn incense that moment.
So that can't go back into that.
No, I don't want you to. I can't even imagine. You are healed. How much is clear? Just want to understand how it happened.
Next to us.
How long after my visit did you feel the change?
Wasn't anything you did. Into someone else.
Someone else?
How we have it.
Okay, so I this.
Give us up. Who is this?
I forgot his name. And either if I did, I could not tell you.
Why not?
His sacrament no has not yet come.
Torment. He performs miracles and sings some credits. What does he look like? Is he a member of some people? What is no images? Okay?
I don't know. I'm sharing this here. I don't understand myself. Here is what I can tell you. I was one mind. I am different. The thing that happened with me was came. So yes, I will own it the rest of my life. I get filled. But there's actually
Submit me. Hosted Shabbat.
will be nothing like yours. Are you sure of that? Have a good time.
So great scene. Great scene. The let's compare and contrast Nicodemus's Sabbath dinner with Mary's. How does Nicodemus view it? How does Mary? We've been kind of hinting around it, but let's say like what's the differences between like how it's being viewed?
I think Mary actually feels that she is now at peace and has fully embraced Christ. Not that and she doesn't realize it. She emotionally feels it. She feels it, but she doesn't understand it. Whereas Nicodemus is trying to Nicodemus is trying to look at it as a scholarly thing, trying to understand it in a scholarly field.
Yeah. Right, Nick.
I think Mary is looking at it as a celebration. As you pointed out earlier, she's never been alive before. This is greeted her ability to do something she's never done.
Yeah.
And was used.
There's a great moment in Nicodemus, like there's this juxtaposition where he's looking, like he's got those servants that are basically work, serving the meal, and he kind of, I think he kind of notices that, which is kind of, but he's just like, there's so much pomp in all this stuff, and then he like clicks in to do it, they were all quoting the Proverbs 31 thing at the beginning of it. The woman of valor, he says it so dead. You know, I don't have that clip, but it's just like woman of valor, like over there, and there's nothing there. And I have Mary's here in a second, but what other ways would you describe it? There's not a wrong answer. Well, there's wrong. You could talk about Denny's. There's wrong answer. No, here, no, so good.
Oh, I was just saying, like, I think obviously they're trying to juxtapose the two things. Like, she's had this encounter with the person Christ, and now she's doing these things out of her heart,
Yeah.
love for Christ and the transformation.
Yeah.
And then you have like demons, like Pharisee, been doing this for a long time. I think it's just become like a ritual.
Mm-hmm.
It's an empty ritual. Like,
Yeah.
it's like there's no heart behind it.
Yeah.
And those are the two kind of what they're trying to draw out
Yeah.
in the show. But even like in the scene, I thought it was really interesting because like that's the testimony of Christianity is the testimony that we have with the transformation and the encounter with Christ in our own lives, right? Like that, just like you were saying, like you can go and cite scripture and how to throw scripture at people, right? Right. And that's not as powerful. And scripture is powerful.
Yeah.
As the testimony of your personal life change. Right? If you will see that in your own life, like what happens. And it's just like she said, like, Steve, I was one way. No.
The beautiful way to put it.
Right. And that's the transformation that we have of the redemption of Christ. But then also miracles, right? Like, because that, I mean, her transformation is not just, hey, like I kind of able to fight. She was sex.
Yeah.
Right. And like, right, God himself, right? Like Jesus Christ comes, he gives his authority to the disciples to go and be like, you will go past up. You will do greater things than the things that I can. And they go forth and they do those things, right?
Yeah.
So it's like, are we casting out demons? Are we doing these things?
It's am I casting out demons? Are we casting out demons? You never know sometimes. You know?
Or just like, has anybody here encountered
So it's the way I'd put that here is I don't want to get too deep into this. I'm going to leave it in the realm of the figurative, but it's we don't know what the demons that people are dealing with. That with someone that we encounter on a day-to-day. You know, it's I love the way she put it. I was one way, now I'm another. The level of which I get to see that, would I call it demon possession? I don't know. You know, but but I get to see that, you know, and I imagine a lot of us do. And well, it may not be Lilith to Mary, and Ted Timothy, but it's definitely something along that lines. I don't know if that makes sense. I'm trying to keep it vague.
I guess what I'm kind of pointing more to is that Jesus came healing the sick, like exercising the people who were possessed, and doing these miracles. And that, like he himself says, like, you don't believe me, believe the miracle.
Yeah.
Like, look at what I'm doing.
Yeah.
And that to me seems to be like something that the average normal person can come to believe that this person is who he says he is. That he's not coming to argue with the philosophers, great debate, like how look at how I'm exegeting scripture, all this stuff. He's just like, I'm healing the blind, like the sick, and doing these things.
What is also interesting, the Bible doesn't really start mentioning really any of his miracles until when he starts his ministry with turning the water to wine. And here we had a miracle that happened that predates that.
Yeah, it's so what I think is really interesting about this is and what my goal is giving people Jesus rather than telling about. You know, like that's giving it's when we see Mary giving this out. I'm pretty sure we see Mary and all that stuff, but we're attributing all of that to what Jesus has done. You know, and so like we'll watch that. This is a longer clip. We'll watch.
Is there for start? Yes, let's eat.
Syndrome, very popular.
Or it's a Pharisee here to shut us down for letting you be here.
Stockholm. Noel.
Oh.
It's good to see you.
Yes.
I don't want to be rude. Be okay.
Oh, yes, of course. I'm just never for Thank you. This is my first time. Meeting these men.
They are students of mine. I trust in their word.
Of course. Your guests can take the seat, yes, ma'am. Oh, of course. Yes. The seat, I keep saying, of course I will. Francis is the man I told him about. You have three. Oh, yes, yeah, Mary told us so much about you.
Oh, I hope not too much. I'm Bartleby. This is Shula. She is blind. Ah,
In case you couldn't tell. Sorry, I don't actually remember again.
I'm Jesus. Nazareth. Well, apparently something good can come through Nazareth. Mary, I'm honored to be here. Why don't you begin?
Oh my, couldn't help. You're lady one.
Thank you. This is your room. And I would love for you to.
What? Or it's not. The heavens and the earth were inflicted upon the house. God created on the seventh day his work that day. He have abstained on the seventh day from all the work. God blessed the seventh day. He held it. And thereon he abstained from all the work that God created to do. I study how God, ruler of the universe, creates light. You have lovingly to kindly and must worship that text and inheritance memory creation. Because this is the first day of our audio ceremonies of memory of the Exodus strange. Blessed are you, Lord God, King of the universe, who brings forth light from the earth.
But pretty soon. The one thing that I was reading some other people's thoughts on this episode, and they said, and it shows such a way of how sin drives us into isolation. And so, like Matthew, he's got the dog. That's kind of what he's got. Simon is going out in the middle of the dark on Sabbath. You know, like that's you have all these things, and I don't know. I thought that was an interesting. Anyone have any last things on that episode before we go to 3?
Some level of Nicodemus is also,
He is
do
Isis.
this.
Yeah, yeah. He is. He is. Like that's and and I think that's like he's starting to wake up to at least this that. Yeah. Well,
It just occurred to me that Jesus took Elijah's place.
yeah. 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 Like that's
I hadn't really caught that.
yeah, yeah. That's a cool connection that she's like, oh yeah, silly me.
The other thing that I thought, she said, I just know I was one way. I don't know who he was. And now I know I'm different.
Yeah.
That reminded me of when Jesus healed the blind man and the Pharisees came. Who did that?
Yeah, that's a good catch.
And
That's a good catch.
I don't know. Like, so I was blind, and now I can see.
And this is something we mentioned it before, and this is something that this show, that's a good catch, is doing. It's quoting a lot of stuff, but it's using other characters to quote. That's a good catch. That's a good catch. And so that's really fun. That's really fun. So episode three, you gotta keep on moving here. It's all about the kids and that. So what did you think about this episode? How did it hit you? Is it like it's yeah like that? That's I think there's a certain amount. Yeah, this is coming from someone who has no kids, but I do think it's good. My favorite example is when I went on a cruise with Mark and Amy, and one of the nights there were all this just gaggle of teenagers. You could tell the teen club closed for the night, and then there was this gaggle of teenagers, and it looked like the Goonies. You know, it was like you had all the cast of characters in this group, like a dozen teenagers. There was like the cool kid that was in charge. There was the little nerdy one, and they were all just cussing and storm up. You know, like there's all these things, and I was like, look at that. This like, look at the goodness of that. That they're on the ship. They can't get in any real trouble. You know, they can't. There's like that all that stuff, and they're just kind of carousing around, not really bothering anybody, but getting into a little bit of light trouble. You know, as they're going around bothering people, and just the wholesomeness of that. You know, even though that they were all kind of up to no good, they're trying to prove each other, you know, as it goes on. But I was sitting there kind of watching them from across the kind of gang. Oh, there's something good about that, you know. Like I could remember being like that when I was younger, you know, 3 years ago. And like that's and yeah, the one in charge, of course. the but no, I think that's funny that these kids are kind of, but she keeps bringing people back, you know. It keeps and so that's kind of fun. What else did you like about this? What stood out to you?
You put the kids to work.
Yeah, there's definitely some child labor things that happen with this with this one. Yeah, yours.
It's like that, you know, we know through the scripture that Jesus says if you want to be someone in the kingdom, you got to be like kids. So it kind of played a little off of that, and it showed how Jesus talks to these kids where no one else in society would be talking to these kids.
Yeah.
And showing them love and attention.
Yeah. Like that's. Can you go?
Yes, I can. Yes, I can.
Yeah. All right. Yeah. Because I think you're going in the same direction I was going, but I want to see if you get there.
And you can see through the children the questions and like their willingness to absorb what he's saying and to like just believe in what he is saying.
Yeah.
Or just to absorb it. And he even says that, you know, I got people that I'm going to talk to that won't understand it as well as you do already, and they're adults. So
yeah, there's that one line with the girl that it's like, come on guys, she doesn't Sabbath school, and she gets this like that, or something, whatever he calls it, like that. Yeah, Torah school. Sabbath school is with the Adventist, Seventh-day Adventist.
Yeah.
Well, it's interesting thing about that is back then, if I'm not mistaken, weren't the women and the girls, like you said, the guys are going to school. The girl did not. Well, she could in the very beginning she could read, she could discern things, she can soak in everything. It's almost like, and the guys are like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
And he taught them the Lord's Prayer.
Yeah. He teaches them the Lord's Prayer. He goes over the Shema, which is the Shema, and that's the hero of Israel, the Lord our God, the Lord is one. It's the John 3:16 of the Old Testament. Like that's it sounds like Haven's having a fun time. Hi, Haven. They can hear me in there. But yeah, hero is the Lord of God, Lord is one. Like that, he goes through like he's kind of teaching and reinforcing all these ideas. So I'm a pull more on you. Like, can you go deeper with like yes? Or you just gonna keep saying yes? Like that, like just keep on going, keep on going.
I think he's kind of teaching them the main purpose, like of to love each other, to respect each other, to not be part of society, to be separate.
Yeah.
And that was a key fact that all of a sudden, once they broke down the barriers out, and the kids were coming to him expressing these things happened today. I pushed the kid down because he okay, instead of just ridiculing him, he listens and turns it into a story, a lesson, and then starts explaining, we're here, we're different, we got to be different.
Yeah. So what is the point of this episode? Like, because the children is definitely part of it. What is the point? What's Dallas Jenkins trying to teach us about?
I don't know, but I find it interesting that he mentions he established with the children the separation of the various kingdoms. You got the civic when he was talking to the boy about, well, as you mentioned, being pushed. He mentioned that the civil authorities have the right to go and take care of that, not him. Be vengeful, not him. And the other one was that I found that as interesting as he actually let the children know that he was the Messiah at the end.
Yeah. Yeah.
Which is kind of strange, you know. I didn't think he let that know to the lady at the well.
Yeah. So here's what I suppose. This entire episode illustrated Jesus' relationship with the disciples early. Like that, just how he was teaching, how he's doing all this, and it brought in that because we're already meeting the disciples, and they're not the best and brightest. You know, they're not the Pharisees. They're not anything like this, and it's just, and I was like, oh, this looks. You know, let me illustrate that for you. I have a clip that kind of shows this. I'll cut it in the middle of the episode. There's a montage, and I cut down the montage, but that whole montage where they're just doing stuff, it sounds like like Jesus with his disciples, like just wandering around, teaching.
How many kids were there? I don't know if there were 12 or not.
I think it's 6.
Oh, how good and how pleasing.
That was bad. But that's you see that? Am I thinking straight that sounds like the disciples? Like and I think he's doing this thing where it's like to be the disciples who come in, not like dumb, like just that childlike nature, that humble nature of coming in. And it's just, it just looks like, how Jesus called the disciples and I was wandering around, like doing all these things with them. And what this episode reminds me of is actually Mark chapter 2, with the way I view and way correct view the Gospel of Mark is that even chapter 2, when the guys drop their friend through the ceiling, that is a microcosm of the entire gospel. Like it is telling us the how the gospel is going and how the story of Jesus. It's like a thesis statement on that paper that you wrote in high school. That it's saying what this story of Jesus is all about in that one little thing. And in this, we see what the ministry of Jesus is all about, is that he's coming to the humble, the outcasts, and he's teaching them and making them into this little, I don't know, merry little band of brothers, even though they're like kids. And that's
And it's like that. Read the thing, end of what you wrote. Not here.
yeah,
Also here.
yeah. I'm not just here for the wealthy. Yeah, I wrote that down. Like, yeah, that was a good one. That was a good one. And so anything else with this? I have the clip that we talked about a second ago that we'll watch in a second of the eye for an eye. Yes, and so I think it's this one. Sorry, it's this one.
Hi, Krista.
So what did you do?
I tried to walk away, but he wouldn't stop pushing me. So I pushed him so far to the ground.
That's why you were punished. Did you expect something different?
But even Torah says eye for eye. Why should I be punished too?
Yes, but that is for a judge. Or hardly in a court of law. You, all of you, have to be special. You have to act differently than others.
You tell us gentle. Or Rabbi Josiah said Messiah, he doesn't use the rules. She would be agreed with it.
It's important to respect your teachers and honor your parents. Rabbi Josiah is a smart man. Many times, smart men lack wisdom. Is there anything in Scripture that says Messiah will be a great military leader? There are many things about Scripture that you cannot understand. That is okay, that's fine. But many years ahead, God does not reveal all things at once, but children. What if many of the things that our people think about how we are to behave, how we are to treat one another, are wrong? You want things to be fair. When someone wrongs you, you want to right it. You know who else loves justice? What does the Lord say in the law of Moses about justice and vengeance?
Vengeance is mine.
Yes, very good. Very good. Boys, pay attention. She doesn't even go to Torah class, huh? Lord loves justice. Or maybe it's not ours to handle. Do you remember when David had the chance to kill King Saul, who was evil to him? He did. Saul was God's anointed. It was not the right time for justice. God says he would have compassion on his people when what? Let's see if someone was dying. It's course that.
Strength is good?
Yes, very good. So, maybe with that God provide justice. Maybe we handle these things in a different way. Not trying to be the strongest all the time.
Even Messiah?
We'll have to see. But do not expect Messiah to arrive in Jerusalem on a tall horse carrying weapons. And he will be most pleased with those of you who are the peacemakers.
Why will you be a stripney?
I understand how later on. So when
There's the
So be kind of a tilt to the Beatitudes.
Yeah, yeah, and that's why I thought this episode was so fascinating. That it sounds like the beginning of the disciples. He's going around and he's likening the disciples to his children. It's just a beautiful image of that bringing there. And the thing that he ends on. Does anyone want to say anything before we're done? I have one last thing I'm going to read. That's anything else?
It seems that it's kind of like.
Yeah. Again, I think they did. I think they did. And the way the way the episode ends is Jesus quotes Isaiah chapter 61. And so I think I have a different version in front of me back here. But the Spirit of the Sovereign Lord is on me, because the Lord has anointed me to proclaim good news to the poor. He sent me to bind up the brokenhearted, to proclaim freedom for the captives, to release from darkness for the prisoners, and to proclaim the year of the Lord's favor and the day of vengeance of our God, to comfort all who mourn. Like that's, and it was all to that boy. It's like, oh, eye for an eye. No. I'm to bring comfort. Vengeance is mine, says the Lord. And it's such a beautiful image of showing us Jesus that comes for even the outcasts and the low. And it's such a beautiful picture of Jesus here in this. Any last things before we're done?
I have one thing that
Yeah. Here, hold on, Jeff.
because obviously like these comes lessons on peace.
little. He comes to give us joy, flows with joy, and we live in an abundance. He also comes to bring the sword. He also comes to separate fathers from sons. And so that aspect, sometimes like in a show like this, where it's just like there are other aspects about Jesus that are harder to kind of reconcile when you have like those cheap pictures. There's more depth there. So I think like that could be, I don't know, maybe like a critique of the show so far, at least, where it's just like, yes, you're trying to give he's coming to the poor. He's also coming with a message that is directly contradicting various society.
Yeah.
Art. But even more so, it's Christians saying, where it's just like, no, like you do have to turn away from sin. That like me turning away from people, in the sense of if they're feeding you. I don't know.
Yeah. And I think that's kind of where the rubber meets the road on all these things. And I think it takes me back to where we kind of began, like today, with this idea of give them Jesus. Like give people the Lord. Like I think so often we're so worried that they believe correctly right off the bat. We can work more about that stuff later on. But it's that we think the beauty is in the correctness. Like, beauty is in what Jesus did for us, death and resurrection. The beauty is in that declaration. I was once one way, now. The beauty is the redemption that Jesus gives, and I think that sometimes that's a kid-like way to play. Oh, I can accept this. I don't have to explain why a peanut butter and jelly sandwich. Like that. That's so it is. Chicken fingers are unreal. So like that's, and so I think that's kind of. that's kind of where I sit with some of this stuff. But I think like so what I'm hearing is that you're a little concerned about the one nature picture that they're doing with Jesus, right?
Well, I mean, not because there's just the second episode.
Yeah.
So maybe there's more there, you know.
I
Just even in just like the scene right there. Tori does say it.
yeah.
Like he's not bringing it out of nowhere. Like, no, he's there. That's the Lord saying that, right? So it's just like
In Jesus, I mean, he's quoting. I mean, they're basically quoting the Beatitudes, right? Not the Beatitudes, but the Sermon on the Mount. Like,
so then it's like, how do you reconcile those two things?
yeah,
And it's just like clearly because you got Jesus teaching
yeah,
in the show, but it's like how do we reconcile as Christians? How do we reconcile when you have Old Testament,
yeah.
New Testament, like, what's happening?
Mm-hmm.
And I think like sometimes that's not as simple as having Jesus tell you and you just be like, yeah, of course I'm gonna listen to Jesus. Obviously. Yeah, but it's we don't have that. So it's just like,
Yeah. I think I've always been one that sat in the holy tension. Like there are good days and there are bad days and there are days where both exist pretty well together. And that's always. I mean, I think my favorite phrase I say lately has been like, "It's gonna be okay." Like that. That's because you're holding the tension, holding it together.
Nelson, to kind of not argue, but like go with that point of what you're saying is that they have the Torah and these are the things that they grew up learning. And last week we were kind of talking about like the transfiguration scene and the things that I was like, oh, I didn't see it this way before it. And yeah, that wasn't a wrong way of thinking then. And they've been thinking that long for thousands of years that Jesus is like, okay, like that God's trying to show them like that was there. And so are the prophets, but now Jesus is here to make things new and to kind of change our mindset from that old way.
yeah, no, I mean, clearly that's happening in the show, and that's what Jesus does. Saying like today, right? Like today,
Gotcha.
that's
Yeah.
now. Like you obviously have like the Old and the New Testament, but then there's still like how do we reconcile those things, interpret those things? We still,
Poemitics or like in a
oh no, just like in general. Like,
Well, I think, yeah, we can get more into that. We got some more weeks. So, but we'll end there if no one else has anything fun they want to say. Jeff, you want to say?
They brought up the transfiguration. How do they know in the transfiguration who's Elijah, who's Moses? They don't have they don't have any photos of videos running around to know what one looks like.
I think that it says something about how we'll just know. Like I think there's like it's you're wearing name tags. Hello, my name is Yos. It'll be in English too.
I thought it was supposed to be Greek,
But
Greek, Armenian, and Hebrew, wasn't it?
yeah. No, it was definitely in Hebrew and Aramaic in some places, but they all spoke Egyptian too. So it's but we'll end right there. We'll end right there for everyone that's watching this pre-recorded. Thank you so much for joining us.